Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Well, we were going to do a show today on 5G Whiz rollout, but it's apparently been postponed until January 19th. Go figure. 119, just blind 11 backwards. We will cover that on a later show as the time gets closer because I've got a lot to say about that to get into with Skynet and 5G Whiz and what it means for the new era. Now, already as we sit here today, there are countries that do not have 5G Whiz technology. They are still banning it because of concerns of safety. But yet in America, we are at the precipice of this being rolled out. And you have to ask yourself, what will happen when that goes down? And I guess we're all just going to have to see. Now, today, we're going to get between some of these headlines, read between the headlines show that we do here. And let's take a look at this first article that actually explains what's going on with the GWiz rollout. They're trying to blame it on airplane interference, communication interference. Top U.S. phone firms agreed to the delay of the GWiz rollout. The U.S. Transportation Secretary Buttigieg, I don't know how to pronounce that guy's name. I just like to have a little fun with it. But anyway, and the Federal Aviation Administration made the request over concerns about aviation safety. Plane makers have warned that C-band spectrum GWiz wireless signals may interfere with the sensitive aircraft electronics and could disrupt flights. And you have to ask yourself, is this the real reason why they're delaying this? Chief executives had pushed back against the second delay request on Sunday, having already put plans on hold since last year. They had also offered to mitigate service around U.S. airports for 6 months as a temporary safeguard, along a similar approach adopted in France. So, this is what's going on with that. Now, as we know, with VidCo-19, the media loves to parade the deaths of these prominent people who oppose the stickers. It's pretty sick if you actually think about what they're doing when they do that, okay? It's like parading a kill list of our enemies during wartime. Don't you think it's weird that some of the loudest people who could actually do something about standing up against some of these unfair laws, isn't it weird that they're the ones that are dropping like flies? You have to ask yourself, why are these people dying with such frequency? Who stands to gain from their deaths? Who has motive to silence these people? And, it's pretty easy for a rich company to use VidCo as a cover to clean house. We've seen it happen before in other instances. It's not too far outside of the realm of possibility. But what they want us to believe is there's this disease that literally only takes out fractions of a percent of those infected. But now, magically, almost 100% has almost 100% effectiveness in taking out its key leaders who oppose it. That's one smart organism, right? Definitely doesn't pass the sniff test to me. So here's the latest victim here. California deputy DA who fought the mandate dies abruptly after falling ill with VidCo at age 46 years old. Let's read about this woman, deputy district attorney, an up-and-coming Republican political star. California's Orange County. They don't want anybody messing with California. They don't want California to go Republican. That'll be the beginning of the end, right? She died abruptly after telling friends she contracted VidCo. She was a candidate for the state assembly in 2022, 46 years old, fell ill shortly after speaking out against the Pokemon mandates at a rally organized by Turning Point USA on December 4th. There's nothing that matters more than our freedoms right now, she was quoted telling the crowd during the rally at Irvine City Hall. It was not immediately clear where or how she contracted the virus, but her death has sparked outpouring of tributes from colleagues who praise her for her passion and experience. So, this is interesting. keep an eye on this, but isn't it weird? All these people who are very outspoken against this end up just dying when only a fraction of a percent of people who ever get VidCo actually die from it. It's just crazy. So, here's a funny article for a little comic relief for you guys. I thought you'd get a kick out of this one because you got to laugh sometimes, right? People are so dumbed down that they forgot that VidCo can make them lose their smell. And they're rushing Yankee Candle to get their money back. That's not fair. I paid for smell and I want my money back until my smell comes back. I mean, can you see how helplessly independent that we are and locked into this beast system? Slaves to the evil cycles of the enemy. Stressed, overspending, whiny crybabies who want our place in line. We want full shelves. We want the best deals every holiday season. While the world is literally crumbling down around us. And our fellow Americans are being fired for non-compliance. Fired by the millions. We keep celebrating our great country by honoring the empty traditions. And we continue on with our fake holidays like nothing's wrong. Counting our fake blessings. Unbelievable. Customers are flooding Yankee Candle's Amazon reviews with claims that the candles have no scent. But the surge in Omicron cases may be to blame. Oh, you think? Customers are flooding Amazon with reviews saying the candles have no scent. Negative reviews seem to coincide with the surge in VidCo cases. Loss of smell, known as anosmia, is a main symptom of VidCo. May be the latest indicator of the VidCo surge nationwide. Some customers who recently purchased from the scented candle brand using Amazon are flooding the site with negative reviews. You know what's funny is Yankee Candle could actually save some money and actually remove the scent from the candles and nobody would know the difference because they could just blame it on VidCo, right? I don't know if I would try that if I was Yankee Candle because it's very dishonest, but who knows what's going on? I mean, we're in backwards world now, you guys. Things are getting really, really weird. So let's keep going with this. We're going to go to Canada because there's stuff going on in Canada. Now, we've been following this story for quite some time. Whistleblower warns of a baffling illness affects growing number of young adults in a Canadian province. Now, the difference here, what's basically developed within this story is that younger people are coming down with this mysterious condition and people in proximity to other sick people are coming down with this mysterious condition. Now, there is a cover-up in progress. Let's read this article because they're now trying to say that this mysterious brain disease is not a mysterious brain disease at all. They're claiming there is no cluster and that these people are simply misdiagnosed cases that only look like a cluster but had perfectly rational explanations. Misdiagnosis. A whistleblower in Canadian province in New Brunswick has warned that a progressive neurological illness that has baffled experts for more than 2 years appears to be affecting a growing number of young people and causing swift cognitive decline among some of the afflicted. Speaking to the Guardian employee with this Vitality Network, one of the province's 2 health authorities said that the suspected cases are growing in number and that young adults with no prior health triggers are developing a catalog of troubling symptoms, including rapid weight loss, insomnia, hallucinations, difficulty thinking, and limited mobility. Sounds like a zombie apocalypse, doesn't it? The official number of cases under investigation, 48, remains unchanged since it was first announced in early spring 2021, but multiple sources say the cluster could now be as many as 150 people, with a backlog of cases involving young people still requiring further assessment. I'm truly concerned about these cases because they seem to evolve so fast, said the source. I'm worried for them and we owe them some kind of explanation. At the same point, at least 9 cases have been recorded in which 2 people in close contact, but without genetic links, have developed symptoms, suggesting that environmental factors may be involved. Now, we were saying this from the beginning because we thought it was kind of suspicious that they were dropping this rabies vaccine onto the wildlife in this area. And we had looked into the research surrounding some of the older rabies vaccine technology. And we saw that some of the older technology was cultured in sheep brains and had caused some neurological conditions. Now, there may not be a link between those two things, but it was something we brought up that should be looked into. Like, they need to narrow down and figure out, who used what vaccine for the rabies. And if they were, in fact, cultured in some kind of brains, they could have caused some kind of infectious outbreak because people eat this meat. Once it is out in the wild, they eat it. It could have been exposed. One suspected case involves a man who was developing symptoms of dementia and ataxia. His wife, who was a caregiver, suddenly began losing sleep, experiencing muscle wasting. Sounds like a wasting disease to me. Dementia and hallucinations. Now her condition is worse than his. A woman in her 30s was described as nonverbal, is feeding with a tube and drools excessively. Her caregiver, a nursing student in her 20s, also recently started showing symptoms of neurological decline. So even being in proximity to these people seems to cause them to come down with this sickness. So they should be checking the water in those areas. They should be checking food or food sources. What are they eating? Are they eating off of a frozen animal that was put in a freezer that had been hunted or killed? Like, why aren't they digging into this? In another case, a young mother quickly lost 60 pounds, developed insomnia, and began hallucinating. Brain imaging showed advanced signs of atrophy. We were just looking into Barron's Underground Marvelous Journey, and at the very end, just before he comes back up to the surface, he runs into these people called the rattle brains. Basically, their brains shrunk, and they can't even remember their own names. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Vitality employees who asked not to be named because they were unauthorized to speak publicly and feared repercussions for speaking out, said they decided to come forward because of growing concerns over the speed with which young people have deteriorated. This is not a New Brunswick disease, said the employee. We're probably the area that is raising the flag because we're mostly rural and in an area where people might have more exposure to environmental factors. But in January, the province of New Brunswick is widely expected to announce that the cluster of cases, first made public last year after a memo was leaked to the media, is the result of misdiagnosis, which have mistakenly grouped unrelated illnesses together. In other words, nothing to see here, move along. Wow. Prospective cases have typically stumped doctors and resisted a battery of standardized neurological tests used to rule out certain conditions. That's because it's lacking the investigative arm of this. It's one thing to test whatever is there, but the patient and things like that, but there needs to be an investigation that goes in and looks into the environment of these places, teams of people, almost like if you're looking for a missing person, for instance. They send out hundreds of people to look. Why wouldn't they do the same thing for something like this? Send out teams of people in the area, try to find the origin of this thing. Now, what interests me is how, they can, something like Vidco, everyone's wearing hazmat suits and, testing lines and mandates and all this out of fear, right? When the odds of you actually, getting something like this or falling ill, hospitalized, or death is very low. But yeah, when it comes to stuff like this, where you actually have a real cluster of cases that are deadly, this is a deadly disease, like literally everyone that gets it ends up dying, then you don't see any hazmat suits. You don't see any investigations. You don't see any things to try to mitigate the situation. All you see is a cover-up. This should tell you everything you need to know about governments. This is why I don't trust governments, because they do what they want to do, and usually involves more control over their people. Using a case description guidelines developed by a team of neurologists and epidemiologists, the clinic decides if the patients warrant further investigation or if they may have a known illness or disease. See, here's the problem. This sentence right here equals corruption. Why? Because the people determining what is a case and what isn't can easily just say it's not a case, right? Determining who becomes part of the cluster is subjective. Yes, it is. Largely because the brain is notoriously difficult to study. Certainty is often only obtained after the patient dies and cerebral tissue can be fully tested. Despite the striking details surrounding the newer cases, the province has worked to tamp down fears. In October, officials suggested that the 8 fatal cases were the result of misdiagnosis, arguing that instead of suffering from a shared neurological illness, victims had died of known and unrelated pathologies. But experts familiar with the cluster are alarmed, largely because of the age of the patients. Neurological illnesses are rare in young people. The fact that we have a younger spectrum of patients here argues very strongly against what appears to be the preferred position of the government of New Brunswick. In other words, the government doesn't want to deal with this. And with something this serious, you have to ask yourself, is the government the one doing it? If they're not being serious about all these people dropping out, you would think they would want to know. I mean, we've got thousands of scientists working on Vidco trying to figure it out, and nobody wants to try to figure this out. So, we'll pray for the people of New Brunswick. They're going through a very scary time right now. No one knows when the next cluster is going to be, the next outbreak, or if their son or daughter is going to be exposed to this. And hopefully they get down to the bottom of it. Let me check in with you guys, and we're going to get into one of the top stories for today, and that is what's going on with Iran. Now, Iran is very upset. Why? Because this is the anniversary of when Trump took out Soleimani. This was their national hero. This guy was everything to Iran. He was basically all of the American heroes rolled up into one. And we basically took him out. And there really isn't too much question about that. Like, really nobody in the world is trying to defend what Trump did on this thing. Now, this is in the midst of them trying to have nuclear negotiations in Vienna right now with Iran. And so you got to ask yourself, what is this anniversary of this Soleimani killing? How is that going to affect these negotiations? Well, Iran basically has a hit list of hundreds of Americans, and basically they're vowing to go down the list and go after these people if Trump doesn't come forward and go on trial. Wow. So here we go with Biden at the helm. I mean, this is going to be this is just not going to be good, you guys. If this thing escalates, this is not going to be good. With everything going on in the world right now, the last thing we need is war with Iran. We should have never killed this guy. Things were starting to calm down. And we're all upset at Iran for a nuclear program. But look at what we do. Look at what the United States government does. What do you expect countries to do? They got to defend themselves. When our country can just indiscriminately go in and just start conflicts with people. You can't do that without expecting some repercussions. Now, as we go into 2022, I expect there will be a whole new level of censorship that's going to kick in, as controllers can now tell exactly what you to think with little resistance. Like this article explaining away that in the beginning, remember, it was implied that stickers were 99% effective at stopping or spreading Vidco. And then, after they got half of America to believe them and get the Pokemon sticker, they changed the story to say that it's only lessen your symptoms and stop you from going to the hospital. Oh, and that's only after a booster. So when somebody overpromises like that, it's really hard to believe anything that they say. Wow. So why are so many Pokemon people getting Vidco lately? They're going to tell us why. You have to listen to these people, right? Because they know. A couple of factors are at play. Started with the emergence of Omicron. Omicron is more likely to infect people, even if it doesn't make them very sick. And its surge coincided with the holiday travel season in many places. No, it didn't. I wasn't traveling when I got sick. It was weeks before that. And a lot of people I know had no one even stepped on a plane or got in a car yet. But they want to blame it on that because that seems to fit the narrative. It happened before that. It happened in like mid-December is when everybody got sick. And so where did this come from if people hadn't traveled around yet? Well, I guess you could say people are out Christmas shopping. I guess maybe that's how they spread it around. Who knows? But this is crazy. It says here people might mistakenly think that Vidco will completely block infection, but the shots are mainly designed to prevent severe illness. Well, you weren't saying that in the beginning. And the Pokemon stickers are still doing their job on that front, particularly for people who've got boosters. 2 doses or 1 dose of JJ Good Time still offer strong protection against serious illness. Well, those initial doses aren't very good at blocking Omicron. Boosters rev up the levels of the body. So now you need some rev. Vroom, vroom. Let's rev up our antibodies. Omicron appears to replicate much more efficiently than previous variants. If infected people have high V loads, there's a greater likelihood they'll pass it on to others, especially the unstickered. Pokemon people who get the V are more likely to have mild symptoms, if any, since the shots trigger multiple defenses in your immune system. The immune system is a very sensitive thing. You start dumping a bunch of first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Do they know what that will do to someone's immune system over the long term? I wonder if they've done long-term studies on that. So this is what they're trying to explain away here as to why so many Pokemon people are getting sick lately. You got this story. They're now saying that not only is your own natural immunity not as good as their stickers, but your own immunity can actually kill you. Dun dun dun. Virus leaves antibodies that may attack healthy tissues. B-cell antibodies weakened, not defeated by Omicron. Wow, it doesn't stop. The following is a summary of some recent studies on Vidco. They include research that warrants further study to corroborate the findings, and that has yet to be certified by peer review. Vidco leaves survivors with self-attacking antibodies. Oh, now this is the next thing we have to worry about. Self-attacking antibodies. That's not because all these different kinds of Pokemon stickers are being poked into people. It has nothing to do with that, according to this article here. It has everything to do with your natural immunity attacking yourself. Because that happens a lot, doesn't it? Months after recovering from Vidco, survivors have elevated levels of antibodies that can mistakenly attack their own organs and tissues, even if they had not been severely ill, according to new findings. Among 177 healthcare workers who had recovered from confirmed Vidco infections, contracted before the availability of stickers, all had persistent autoantibodies, including ones that can cause chronic inflammation and injury of the joint, skin, and nervous system. We would not normally expect to see such a diverse array of autoantibodies elevated in these individuals, or stay elevated for as long as 6 months after full clinical recovery. Wait a minute, I thought that they said that when you have natural immunity, it doesn't last very long, and it's insufficient, that it doesn't stay in your system for very long at all. And that's why you need Pokemon stickers. Well, now all of a sudden it's saying that it is staying in your system for as long as 6 months after full recovery. So which is it? I guess this article will explain. Patterns of elevated autoantibodies vary between men and women, the researchers reported. We don't yet know how much longer beyond 6 months the antibodies will stay elevated. Well, they just admitted that they don't know right here. I thought that they said they knew for a fact that natural immunity sucked, basically, and that you didn't have any antibodies after a while, after a few months. Now all of a sudden they don't know how much longer you have these elevated antibodies. Oh, because it's the bad ones, though, now we can say we don't know. You can just solve all of this just by going to get a Pokemon sticker. That's what they want you to come to the conclusion of. Wow. It will be essential to monitor individuals moving forward. Our team is investigating whether autoantibody elevations are linked with persistent symptoms in people with long VIDCO and planning to study autoantibody levels after infection with the newer variants of the virus. So, I'm not going to read the rest of this article because it's just medical mumbo jumbo, in my opinion. But now they got people afraid of your own antibodies. Wow. So, got to ask yourself, with the social media outlets dominating the airwaves and shutting down any dissenting opinion, shaming any of these groups that have come out, and they flooded the airways with disinformation to make the people that are resistant to the stickers look crazy. With all that, you got to ask yourself, how is anyone not wanting to get a sticker at this point? With all the fact checks and posts removed. Well, obviously, the people that are resistant are seeing something or experiencing something in their personal lives that make them oppose these stickers. I mean, every post that's been put up has basically been removed and fact-checked and explained away. So why are these people still opposing the sticker? What are they seeing happening in their family and friends who got the sticker already? I can tell you what I'm seeing. Well, actually, I can't. But you can all discuss what you're seeing in your circle of friends. And it's very, very, very strange. A lot of people are getting sick over and over and over again. And this is just crazy. This is what's going on in Spain. Spain starts a new year with massive VIDCO spikes and anti-sticker demonstrations. Okay? As dust fell on New Year's Day in downtown Barcelona, most everyone strolling outside past the department store Corte Inglés was masked per the mandate last week. In a country that was one of the first to be slammed by the VIDCO, the return of the mandate had come as the Omicron variant pushed new cases soaring to 100,000 per day. But as hand-holding mask-compliant couples passed beneath glittering Christmas lights, a low roar drew near. The rumbling of the drums, horns, and whistles gave the impression of a boisterous army approaching, perhaps a parade or raucous circus show. Pedestrians paused, glanced up at the street as the word Libertad could be heard. The chant soon followed by 800 protesters holding placards about the spam-demic, the health dictatorship, and muzzles. Demonstrations in Catalonia, the northern region of Spain, seeking independence are common. But this one was different. It was a protest against Pokemon stickers and masks. So people are upset. They're seeing something. It ain't online anymore because that's been wiped clean, pretty much. I mean, we can talk about it like we're talking about it, but we can't go into detail. We can't actually share real stories of people who have had things happen to them. So where's all this energy coming from? Well, obviously, these people are seeing something. And here we are, and all the controllers can do at this point is continue to threaten and blame those who are not fully stickered. Pretty soon they're going to start character assassinating the crowd who won't go get their boosters. They're going to be next. The too lazy to get your booster crowd. And that's next, in case you thought you were safe because you got the first 2 stickers. You thought you were being patriotic. And then you just got tired of getting stuck. Well, here we are, Daily Beast. Omicron variants quickly upended at least 3 facts we thought we'd established during VidCo 19. First, the transmissibility of Omicron has shattered all previous records. Yeah. How is it that you have people all in the same family that all got sick at exactly the same time when none of them saw each other? It's magic. Omicron must float on the airwaves like a radio signal or something. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how this thing is getting transmitted when there are people all around the country that got it at the exact same time. We saw that here on this channel. Weird. So what they're saying here is it's briefly had been considered just about the worst in class due to its extreme contagiousness. Second, it was shown us that VidCo can be a mild disease if one considers a 3 or 4 day bout of fatigue, aches, and fever to be mild. But it is the third revelation that's the most alarming. Omicron has scrambled a great deal of what we thought we knew about mooning of the city to the infection in the first place. Witness the ease with which it has infected those with 1 or 2 or even 3 Pokemon stickers. So people are getting, who got all their stickers, are still getting Omicron, a phenomenon referred to as Pokemon evasion. Okay. Thankfully, the current stickers still prevent most lethal infections, despite being less effective at preventing the infection itself. However, it is not the stickered people with breakthrough infections who comprise the most unsettling part of the mooning of the city story, even as that makes headlines and dominates social media. Rather, it is the ease with which Omicron has evaded the immunity provoked by previous infection with Delta or Alpha. So, for those willing to accept the sticker, this type of evasion less than a year after the Myrna products entered widespread use is a serious but surmountable scientific challenge. We have long known we may need to develop just-in-time stickers for newly and suddenly dominant variant. Myrna technology lends itself to exactly that. Technology is available, and though the product will always lag behind the latest variants, tricks to buy time or innovative technology shortcuts surely will be developed. So they're admitting right here this is never going to end as the variants roll out. More and more stickers. Stickered people will, sooner or later, be able to keep up with the always changing virus. But the implacable millions for whom the sticker represents some intolerable intrusion on their personal space, call them the never stickers, represent a very different problem. One that science, persuasion, or even harsh threats seem unable to resolve. They're admitting that they're threatening us. We knew that there were anti-stickers, and we knew the spamdemic would not end easily, but these people will not stop dying anytime soon. The unstickered are the ones who will continue to receive the brunt of whatever is next, such as the case of the Omicron. Despite the fact that the majority of the people in the U.S. are stickered, the unstickered are still filling hospital beds most often. This is just the start. Among viral pathogens that affect the airways, the VidCo family is a bunch of bad hombres, well known to reinfect year after year without major genetic shifts. So, we are the enemy of the state when it comes to VidCo 19 and the stickers. But yet, they still can't explain why cities with masks and sticker mandates keep seeing these huge spikes. These are places where 80 to 90% of the population has a sticker. Wow. So how are they going to try to explain this away? Well, let's read. Cases of VidCo are surging across the country, including major U.S. cities that have mandated masks and stickers amid the spread of the Omicron. New York City averaged 36,000 reported cases, 517% increase. Weeks before his term expired in December, Blasio announced that effective December 14th, the city government would require proof of stickers for indoor dining, fitness, and entertainment from children as young as 5 years old. Beginning December 27th, New Yorkers aged 12 and older were required to show proof of 2 sticker doses, except for those who had received the JJ. New York State, which before had peaked at 251,000 cases, has been seeing an average of 400,000 cases in 2022. So what's going on here? All these stickered people and all these rules, is it helped? Well, not in New York. They go on to cite a lot of other major cities with very high sticker rates that are seeing some of the worst outbreaks. Meanwhile, Bo Jiven's spamdemic of the unstickered narrative falls apart as Omicron cases skyrocket. It never was a spamdemic of the stickered or the unstickered. It was always both. For months, Bo has characterized continued spread of the spamdemic of the unstickered and repeatedly claimed that stickered people cannot spread the virus, contradicting even what the WHO said in the C to the D to the C. Wow. This is a spamdemic of the unstickered, the president told Ohio. The unstickered, not the stickered, the unstickered. That's the problem. Everybody talks about freedom and not to have a shot or have a test. Well, guess what? How about patriotism? Can't imagine there's too much patriotism going on when people are getting fired left and right in the federal government for simply not complying with a government mandate. Wow. So, those are pretty much the stories for today. I want to just give you guys an update on everything going on, where things are progressing to, and help you to understand that this isn't going away anytime soon. And all we have to do is continue to stand our ground and continue to listen to the Most High. And no man, every man is called a liar, right? Don't listen to me. Don't listen to any man. Pray to the Holy Spirit. Pray to God. Pray to Jesus for the truth. So let's go into the chat here. Yes, it is FLU season. And for some reason, we as Americans forget that every single year. And so they've just continued to repackage this in different names and different, I mean, how many enemies did we have in the Mideast? We had every few years they were renaming the enemies. It's no different now, just different variants. So, all right. Well, you guys are going to go ahead and pop off of here. And we'll be back on here tomorrow. I found something crazy. For those of you that, thanks to the new member. Thanks, who is this? Britsbit. Thanks, Britsbit, for becoming a channel member. So I dug into this Gulliver's Travels. I told you guys I was going to look at this movie, right? From 1939. Because the guy who painted some of the art scenes in the movie also painted the patio at Mar-a-Lago. His name was Louis Jambord. Well, the opening scene of this animated film, Gulliver's Travels from 1939, it starts on the 5th of November. Now, I don't want to give it all away for tomorrow's show, but for those of you that have been following this channel, you understand that this 5th of November date keeps appearing in these time travel films. We found it in all these time travel films. 5th of November, 5th of November. And through extensive research over the course of several years, we determined that what this was really talking about with time travel was the lowering of the veil during the Samhain festival, where they would do a sacrifice, lower the veil, and they would commune with demons. And this was their form of time travel. They would astral project, and demons would show them all these crazy things during this festival, the 5th of November marking the end of Samhain. So that's what the 5th of November is really about. Time travel is demon possession, is what it is. So the opening scenes of this cartoon from 1939 took place on the 5th of November, which then links it all the way back to Trump once again, Biff, Back to the Future, 88, and everything else. So we're going to dig into that tomorrow. I've got some clips from the animated film showing you the 5th of November, and we'll dig into that tomorrow. Anyway, I love each and every one of you guys. You guys have a great rest of your day. Take care and be safe.